Tomorrow is Election Day. The nation, North Carolina, and certainly Buncombe County have seen record turnout. Combining the unprecedented volume of absentee by mail and our largest number of early voters ever, for over 140,000 people have already cast their ballot in Buncombe. That's more than the total turnout for 2016, and we still have Election Day ahead of us. Early voting ended Saturday with more than 106,000 voters. Even with the volume, it was a smooth process for all 16 locations. We had a brief power outage due to Tropical Storm Zeta at Black Mountain Library, but voting locations have priority power restoration status, and power was restored within an hour. In the meantime, machines ran on battery backup and voting continued as normal. Looking ahead to tomorrow, the weather prediction is sunny. We expect another strong day of turnout. More than 600 poll workers who have worked very hard to prepare by learning the process, technology, and laws of elections will be at 80 locations across the county to serve voters. They are collecting supplies and setting up sites as we speak. Polls open at 7:30 a.m. and polls open at 6:30 a.m. and close at 7:30 p.m. Be sure to go to the location assigned to you. While you're able to vote at another location provisionally, going to your assigned polling place ensures that all the candidates you are eligible to vote are available. If you don't know your polling location, visit buncombecounty.org/vote or call our office at 828-250-4200. If you have not done so already, those methods of contact are also good for finding your sample ballot, which you're allowed to bring with you to the polls. If you make a mistake marking your ballot, just let the poll worker know. They'll spoil it and provide you with a new one. All voting locations are equipped with ADA equipment. Ask a poll worker for assistance if you need it. Curbside voting is available at all locations for those unable to enter the voting enclosure due to age or disability. All COVID-19 precautions are still in effect. Poll workers will be wearing PPE, sanitizing equipment between voters, and polling locations will be marked for 6-foot distancing. Masks are not required for voters, but we strongly encourage everyone to bring one, and masks will be provided if you forget yours. If you've requested an absentee ballot and have yet to return it, there's still time. Absentee ballots are not accepted at polling locations, so if you want to deliver in person, stop by our office at 77 McDowell Street today or tomorrow by 5 p.m., and we'll take care of you. If you would rather mail in your ballot, it must be postmarked by Election Day and get to our office before the 12th. As long as you have not returned your absentee ballot, you're allowed to choose to vote in person. When polls close tomorrow, results will start becoming available as soon after 7:30 as possible. Accuracy is our priority, and we know how anticipated results are. So you can rest assured that we and election workers all across the state are working feverishly to get results to you. Starting at 2 p.m., we'll begin pre-processing. The first results you'll see are those from early voting and absentee by mail received thus far. This is the vast majority of results. Next, we wait for precincts to bring in results from the polling locations. Note that anyone in line at 7:30 is allowed to vote. So if there are lines, all those voters will need to be processed before that site can submit their results. With high turnout expected, results could be coming in as late as 10 p.m. You can track progress in Buncombe and all across the state by going to the State Board of Elections website at ncsbe.gov. Election night results are unofficial. Being the vast majority of votes, these results do give a good picture of the election, but a lot happens after Election Day to finalize. Absentee ballots received after Election Day, as well as any provisional ballots cast, will be counted during the 10-day period following the election. While the numbers won't be huge, we do anticipate a higher than normal number of absentee ballots returned after Election Day. If numbers are similar to 2016, we'll have approximately 1,000 provisional ballots to research as well. Audits at the local and state level, as well as hand count checks, are also completed at this stage. Submission of any mandatory recounts would occur during this time as well. On November 13th, our board will meet to finalize the results for Buncombe County. As is the case every election, expect to see campaigners and advocates outside your polling location. They must stay outside the 50-foot buffer zone to allow you easy access to vote. Intimidation is not tolerated, and if you encounter it, report it. Election Day brings neighbors together around an important right. If early voting is any indication, Election Day will be civil and festive. Thank you. So the question was, how likely will we be able to declare a local winner tomorrow night? And that just depends on how wide the margins are, and we'll start to see that at 7:30. If the margins are close, and for a local candidate, that close means 1% less than the total votes cast. So it's a very tight margin that would have to fall into. But we would begin to see that at 7:30 tomorrow night.
Is that the threshold for a recount, 20%?
That's the threshold for a recount for a local contest. The threshold for a statewide contest is fewer than 10,000 votes different.
How many absentee by-mail ballots in Buncombe County are still outstanding that got requested but not sent?
So we had about 51,000 requested, and nearly 40,000 of those have already been returned. Now that doesn't count people who went and early voted, so there's a number of those as well. And that is a higher percentage than we normally see.
We were at the post office today and talked to staffer. They said that your staff came over twice to Cox Avenue today to pick up votes. Our numbers very small of people voting today, historically, and then how many votes did you pick up across the board this morning at the post offices?
The question was, how many absentee ballots are we seeing today that were dropped off at the post office or in person? And I don't have a number, but it is smaller than it has been in the last few days, but the last few days have been big. So it's definitely probably in the hundreds of ballots for today. And we actually have a board meeting tonight where we will count those and have numbers for those as well.
Do you have an estimate on turnout tomorrow? Usually, I know in prior years, there's always estimate what it'll be on election day, but already in Buncombe County, I think it's 2/3 of registered voters already voted. So, do you have an estimate on how many people might vote tomorrow?
So the question was whether we have an estimate on how many people might vote tomorrow. And as most people have noticed, this election has been very different than in the past. I do think that having the good weather and just interest in this election, it's still going to be high turnout. In 2016, we had 40,000 voters on Election Day. I don't think that it will be that high, but it is a complete guess. We only have 65,000 voters in Buncombe County who have not voted yet.
Have you had any discussion with your staff and or sheriff's department, police department on protection for voters? Obviously, there was a lot of dialogue. The Attorney General just spoke about zero
So the question was, what preparations have we made for protection at the polls on Election Day tomorrow?
There's harassment, intimidation, the chief misspoke on that.
Specifically harassment and intimidation. And we have done a lot of preparation, and actually Taylor Jones is here as well, who is a big partner in that. And we have gotten together with law enforcement, emergency services, health department, PR. We've had a giant team of people who came together to plan for the election. And we've distributed all of the rules that need to be followed at polling locations so that all of the different agencies understand what is allowed and what's not allowed at polling locations. And then all of those agencies have increased staffing that day.
Will you have extra staff for protection at various sites because of the discussion about mental issues?
There won't be any uniformed officers at polling locations, but the agencies will have increased staffing.
I know that a couple of weeks ago, there had been no incident reports filed by chief judges at election places. Now, at the end of early voting, did that change? Were any reports filed?
There weren't any reports filed. We did have some, oh, I'm sorry. The question, thank you. The question was whether any incident reports were filed during early voting. And we didn't have any that required an incident report. We did have at Weaverville Town Hall some people arriving at the location with open carry, but they were following all of the rules. And just as a reminder, that location is at the police station. So it was monitored by Weaverville Police as well as the chief judge.
What took place and when was the day running?
Friday, and just a few people outside the 50-foot zone were open carry.
Did they stand with the posture or there wasn't five?
There were not more than 5, and they were not aggressive.
Has the Rockland County Board of Elections Office received any phone call, threats, or email threats?
No, we have not. Sorry, I keep forgetting to repeat the question. I was asked whether our office has received any phone or email threats, and we have not. There are 80 Election Day polling locations.
I know during the March primary, we were waiting for results from some of the more rural precincts for quite a while. I mean, that kind of comes with the territory, but has there been any planning efforts to expedite those returns from outlying precincts?
The question was that in March, we saw that it took quite a while for the outer lying precincts to get their results in. And we have always streamlined that process. So what happens at the polling location is as soon as everyone who was in line at 7:30 is done voting at a location, then the results are secured by a bipartisan team that goes straight to our office. So that's happening as soon as it possibly can. Then the site gets taken down and the chief judge returns to our warehouse with the rest of the supplies. So it happens as fast as it can.
Could you explain, since I think a lot of people are probably watching this on social media, in real time, we as reporters, we've seen these machines that Jefferson County has, that Buncombe County has, where you have already inserted and certified those early votes. Correct? Is that right? Absentee votes are in the machine already?
Yes, they're in the machine. They're not certified results though.
So what happens at 7:30? Do you just press the button
So that's a very good question. So what was asked is, I mentioned earlier that at 7:30 you'll see results for early voting and the absentee ballots that we've received so far. So what happens is that tomorrow at 2 p.m. we're allowed to begin pre-processing at our office. That we take those machines from the early voting locations and we close the polls, which is the technical begin of tabulation. And those results then get read into software at our office, and that does take actually a very long time. It's data intensive, and for presidential elections there are always write-ins, which is extra data, and so we expect that process for absentee and early voting to take about 5 hours. That should give us time to be able to upload those pretty immediately at 7:30, as long as there aren't any network issues or anything like that.
So just so we're clear, and tomorrow at 2 o'clock, even though the polls close at 7:30, in Baldwin County and in many counties across North Carolina, the counting will start at 2.
That's correct. No matter what size of the county it is, it starts at 2 o'clock. But those results are not allowed to be, even if you got it completed sooner, those results are not allowed to be released until 7:30. And we all do it the same way, so you'll see it on the state board website the fastest.
For ballots that are counted after Election Day, when will those be updated and counted?
The question was, for ballots that are counted after Election Day, when will we see those results? And those are actually presented on Canvass Day, which is November 13th. So you won't see those results until 10 days after the election. That's provisional and any absentees that were turned in after Election Day.
What's traditionally the heaviest turnout on Election Day, which site?
Oh, I don't know that question. I can get that though. The question was, which precincts have the heaviest turnout on Election Day? And I can get those numbers.
So just to be clear, like, there won't be daily updates of these are the mail-in ballots that you process. Like, those all come as a lump on November 13th.
Yes, that's correct. So the question was that to have clarity on whether ballots that are counted will just be updated throughout the canvass period, and that's not the case. Those have to be approved at board meetings, and then those results are uploaded on Canvass Day, the 13th.
Is that the day everything's certified?
That is the day that everything is certified on the county level. Then those results are submitted to the State Board of Elections, and the results are certified on the 24th for the state of North Carolina. I think I repeated about half the questions. I hope that my answers were self-explanatory.
Any other questions? I'm going to let them know about tomorrow night, what they can see if the media wants to come back tomorrow night between 9 and 9:30 next one.
So tomorrow, after the site's closed down, at our warehouse, which is right next door at 50 Cox Avenue, it's a very lively scene. So if you wanted footage of the chief judges coming back, that's a good time to come. And I wouldn't come before 9:30, and I think that would be a valuable time to show people what goes on after the polls. It's things come back, and it's really the start of finishing.
Curiosity. So the percentage, in 2016, there were 40,000 people who voted on Election Day, correct?
Correct.
And just looking at that number versus how many, you have to already pre-register to come. So do you have any kind of idea of how many are
Yes, so Kim asked how many voters are registered, because you have to be registered on Election Day. There's no same-day registration on Election Day. There are 65,000 registered voters left to vote in Buncombe County. We have about 205,000 registered voters.
So 65,000 show up, that's 100%.
That's right. If 65,000 people show up, that's 100%. That would be extra record-breaking. Buncombe County in the last presidential election had 71% turnout. We're already at 68%, which means we only need about 5,500 voters to vote on Election Day to beat that 71%, and I fully expect that to happen. 68% so far. And I believe the state as a whole is at 62%, so Buncome's a little bit ahead of that.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
If you need any questions answered.
If you need any more questions answered, please call Lillian or Cassie at our PR department. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.